While China's economic growth may be slowing, its investments overseas are surging. But as it tries to buy sensitive assets like nuclear power plants and electricity grids, it's running into problems. The latest such case is in Australia. It's blocked a bid by Chinese companies to buy a stake in the electricity network in Sydney and surrounding areas. Azhar Sukri has more.
New South Wales has the biggest population of any Australian state, and it's home to some of the sites that define the nation. But the task of providing it with electricity has just become part of a diplomatic tussle with China. Australian Treasurer Scott Morrison has rejected a bid by Chinese firms to control the company that supplies power to Sydney and neighbouring areas. In a statement, he said, "My preliminary view is that the foreign investment proposals put to me for this transaction are contrary to the national interest." He didn't name the Chinese companies, but news reports have said KA-SHING Infrastructure, which is controlled by Hong Kong billionaire KA-SHING, is one of them. The other is Chinese government-owned State Grid Corp. They've been bidding for a 50.4% stake of Ausgrid, which has a 99-year lease to distribute power to the state of New South Wales. Scott also said, national security issues were identified in critical power and communication services that Ausgrid provides to businesses and governments. It's not the first time the Australian government has rejected a bid by Chinese companies. It recently knocked back a proposal to buy S. Kidman and Company, Australia's largest private landowner. And China has also encountered a roadblock in the UK. British Prime Minister Theresa May has delayed a final decision on the latest phase of the Hinkley Point nuclear power station, partly due to security concerns over China's involvement in the $23 billion project. Azhar Sukri, TRT World.
Earlier, I spoke to Tim Anderson. He's a senior political economy lecturer at the University of Sydney, and I asked him how this could possibly affect the relations between the two nations.
It's an ongoing game in a way because Australia is very closely linked to China in its economy, but there's been a number of incidents like this to do with Australian government's security paranoia, really, about the strategic role of China.
Is that a legitimate paranoia?
Well, it's not really based in great substance, but it's mainly to do with strong links that Australia has to the United States, and the US has set up the People's Republic of China as a rival in this region, and it expects Australia to support it in that way. So there's that sort of integrated Cold War relationship, if you like, which conditions all of these major decisions.
I mean, that's the view, obviously, of authorities, of the government, but what does the average Australian think?
The average Australian on this issue has been opposed to privatisation of energy grids because a lot of other problems come with privatisation of energy grids. So the Chinese factor is something on top of that that's not really the main concern of Australians. There are some people who have this paranoia, if you like, about China, but there are other wider concerns about the problems of privatisation.
And in terms of the continent, why are the Chinese looking at Australia? What is it about the continent?
Well, there's been a steady stream of Chinese investment in other countries, and Australia is one of them. Some say it's related to the decline in the productivity or the growth rates in China, but China has a lot of capital and it's investing it around the world, and Australia is one of those attractive places for it.